I have a pretty quick lesson for you today. Today we are going to talk about the reciprocal trig functions. So we learned three trig functions. We learned that sine of an angle is opposite over hypotenuse, that cosine of an angle is adjacent over hypotenuse, and that tangent of an angle is opposite over adjacent. And then we talked about some ways to remember that with either SOHCAHTOA or spelling that out with Oscar had a heap of apples. So we learned three trig functions so far. There's actually 6 trig functions, but the nice thing about the other 3 trig functions is they are reciprocals. So remember that reciprocal means that we take that fraction and we flip it upside down. So sine has a reciprocal that is named cosecant. Sine has a reciprocal that's named cosecant. And its abbreviation, we can't do COS because that's already cosine. So cosecant is abbreviated CSC. And that's the reciprocal of sine. So it takes sine and flips it upside down. So it's hypotenuse over opposite. Then cosine has a reciprocal that is named secant. So secant of an angle then is taking cosine and flipping it upside down. So that is hypotenuse over adjacent. And then tangent has a reciprocal that is named cotangent, and its abbreviation is COT. Theta, cotangent of theta. Take that tangent, flip it upside down. So that is adjacent over opposite. So one thing to note about these is one really common mistake. Students often get tangent and cotangent correctly matched up. That makes sense. Tangent, cotangent, they seem like they belong together. But a mistake that many students make is incorrectly matching up the others. Students often want to match up cosine with cosecant because we think co should go with co. However, when we think about a co, it's like a partner to it. And if we think about like pilots, a pilot needs a co-pilot, but we don't really want 2 co-pilots because then in an emergency, who's in charge, right? So we want one standard function and one co-function. So sine matches with cosecant. So sine has a co, and cosine, it's already a co. It's going to match with the plane secant. Okay, so hopefully that'll help you keep those lined up correctly. Sine goes with cosecant, and cosine goes with secant, so that each partnership has one co-function. Okay, so in our problems today, we're going to have a right triangle because these are only right triangle trig ideas because of that idea of a hypotenuse. A hypotenuse only exists in a right triangle. So I'll label my triangle ABC here, and then I'm going to fill in my sides. We'll say this is 5, this is 12, and this is 13. That's a common set of numbers that we like to use in right triangles because they all work out nicely without any square roots. And then for our problems, we're going to be asked to come up with one, or we'll do a couple different of these co-functions. So for example, let's find the cotangent of beta, the cotangent of the B angle. So if I focus on B, I'm going to label my triangle according to angle B. So that means 5 is opposite of B. 13 is the hypotenuse no matter what angle we focus on. And 12 is adjacent to B. So cotangent partners with tangent. Tangent would be opposite over adjacent. So cotangent is going to flip that upside down and be adjacent over opposite. Right? So to remember these, I always think about that SOHCAHTOA. And like when I take a test or a quiz or whatever, I just write that right at the top of my paper. When I'm doing my homework, I just write that right at the top of my paper so I can keep referring back to SOHCAHTOA. So then when I would see cotangent, I'd say, okay, which part am I going to match up with? The TOA. Okay, so I'm going to match up with the TOA, but instead of going OA, I'm just going to go backwards and go AO. So adjacent over opposite. So that'd be 12 over 5. Right? All right, let's look at one more. And on your homework, that's just the blank that you would fill in there, 12 over 5. Okay, so let's look at one more, and we'll just leave the same triangle here. But this time, let's find, we'll go for the cosecant of alpha. The cosecant of alpha. So this time, now I want to focus on alpha, on A. Okay, so I'm going to focus on A. I'm going to label according to A. So 13 is the hypotenuse no matter what. But now 12 is our opposite of A, and 5 is our adjacent to A. So always start with our focus and labeling. Okay, so now that we're focused, we're labeled, now we're ready to think about which trig function. So cosecant is the partner with sine. Co has to partner with the plane, so co partners with sine. So SOHCAHTOA, sine is OH. Well, we're going to do that backwards. So we're going to do HO. The hypotenuse, 13, over the opposite, 12. And that's what we would type into our answer blank there. Make sure on your homework it does say in reduced form. So if your fractions could reduce, like if it was like 10 over 6, make sure that you reduce that down 5 over 3. Okay? But don't change them into decimals and don't change them into mixed numbers like 1 and 1/12. Okay? But reduce when you possibly can. All right? So that's it on our idea of reciprocal functions. We're going to take that sine, cosine, and tangent. We're going to flip them upside down and give them some new names. Cosecant, secant, and cotangent. So let me know what questions you have about this, and I'll see you again soon.